We've got Mahindra & Mahindra's Pawan Goenka, who's joining in live with his take. Mr. Goenka, many thanks for taking time out and speaking with us. We, of course, know the Oil Minister has now given OMCs a free hand in hiking diesel prices time to time, as he puts it. So prices, of course, are bound to increase. What sort of an impact do you see this having on your industry?
Let me say that as an industry and also as Mahindra, we have always been advocating decreasing the gap between petrol and fuel prices. And I'm on record to say that another 5 rupees per litre increase in fuel prices is something that is acceptable and should not make much of a difference to the industry. Such an increase will not, in my opinion, reduce the demand for UVs or commercial vehicles. May have some shift in demand between for small and mid-sized passenger cars from diesel to petrol. But other than that, I don't see having an overall impact in terms of industry volume. I think anything beyond 5 rupees perhaps will start impacting industry volume, is my opinion. And therefore, we welcome the announcements that have been made today, and we hope that it's carried through and the gap between petrol and fuel prices is reduced. To what quantum it will happen is hard to say from the announcements.
Right. Mr. Goenka, you did mention, the impact on demand. Now, yours is a pure play diesel car company. So do you suppose that these higher prices could impact volumes?
As I said, that up to 5 rupees increase, I don't think will have an impact on UV volumes reducing. In UV, a shift from diesel to petrol is very unlikely because there are very few petrol models. And even the ones where there is a diesel and petrol option available, preference is very heavily for diesel. And therefore, I don't expect to see any material change in demand up to that level of 5 rupees per litre. Beyond that, I think, yes, it will start having an impact where the UV volume might shift towards an equivalent sedan or hatchback. But that's my threshold, 5 rupees per litre.
And also, with this diesel hike, do you think that at least for the time being, the possibility of that hike in diesel duty that was doing the rounds is perhaps a bit slim now?
Frankly, in our opinion, that is the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to reduce the gap to a level that is sustainable, that is reasonable, which is about 20-25% gap between diesel and petrol, in my opinion. And therefore, I am assuming that if everything is getting coordinated in these decisions making, and these are not isolated decisions, then it's sort of an indication that the government is not seriously thinking about any diesel vehicle tax. That's an assumption that I'm making. I have no knowledge about what is running through the people who are making the budget, what is running through their minds.
Right, it's an assumption you said you're making. So are you then looking for some sort of clarity in budget 2013 on that front?
I would hope so, because the only reason given in the recent past why there should be a diesel vehicle tax is the fact that the diesel fuel is subsidized, and once that subsidy comes to a reduces and we come to a point where the oil marketing companies are not losing money on diesel fuel, then I do not see why there should be a hue and cry about diesel vehicle taxes.
Right, Mr. Goenka, the free hand now to be able to increase diesel prices, do you think it will push demand when it comes to petrol cars? Because currently the industry is seeing over 60% of volumes that are driven by diesel cars, and that could possibly drop.
It's, again, there are two factors. One factor because of which the diesel cars have become more popular lately is undoubtedly the parity or the gap between diesel and fuel prices. And once the gap reduces, there will be some shifting back to petrol. But the other factor also is that there are more and more small diesel cars available today than there were, say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago. And now almost everybody who is making a major launch almost always has a diesel variant available. And therefore, the availability certainly leads to a more penetration of diesel. So I don't think that it will ever go back to where it was, say, 3 years ago. But yes, the ratio may tilt more towards petrol.
Right, and before we let you go, specifically about Mahindra & Mahindra, will this impact your diesel car production ramp-up plans in any way? Would you possibly look at holding any further investments?
For Mahindra, the change will be on the margin, and therefore this kind of change is very unlikely to make us rethink any of our long-term capacity or product development plans. What will make us rethink is if there is a bombshell kind of announcement that happens in the budget, which, for example, puts a diesel vehicle tax. And if that happens, then we certainly think that there will be a tremendous pressure that will come on volumes, and we will have to rethink both capacity expansion and new product introduction. But other than that, I do not see us having to rethink.
Mr. Goenka, many thanks for taking time out and speaking exclusively to us here at ET Now. Mahindra and Mahindra's Pawan Goenka, of course, President of the Automotive Division, talking to us about the government's decision to now give diesel companies a free hand when it comes to hiking prices. Clearly a thumbs up from the auto space as well.